The government today have set out a major set of plans for changes to in-work benefits that will have an effect on lots of people across the country, and I want to take a few minutes just to explain a little bit about what the government are doing and why they are doing it. We've got over 3 million people in our country who are out of work because of ill health. That's a huge number, and it makes the UK internationally an unusual country because not only did we not recover after the pandemic with people getting back into work, but we are now also, we have one of the highest rates of people out of work at working age because of ill health. Now, this economic inactivity, it's really bad for people who should have the right to be in work and could get the fulfillment and dignity that comes from work, but also for businesses that are struggling to grow because there aren't enough people in the labour market, and also because our country hasn't grown as much as it should have done, partly because we've got lots of people not in work. Now, every day, 1,000 new people join PIP, and that is adding to a picture that over time will see us have the equivalent of the city of Leicester every year on PIP, in addition to those who are currently on it. Now, this just isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable for the future of the welfare system because it will go bankrupt. It's also not good for the human tragedy of people who could be in work and should have that right and being locked out of that opportunity and being written off. And that's essentially what we've inherited with the welfare system that we've got. So the government today have set out a number of plans, a lot of which are really exciting and will address these issues. And I just want to run through them quickly. I've got a little note here because there's a lot of them. So the first thing is to spend an extra £1 billion per year for work, health and skills support. So this is making sure we can get people into work, and if they fall out of work, especially if they've got a health condition, the evidence shows that if we can get them back into work quickly, then it'll have a really positive effect. So that's a major increase in programmes that will support people into work, making sure we address the barriers that hold them back from getting into good quality work. The second is a major boost for the Universal Credit Basic support. Now, this will mean that there's less of an incentive to switch over to health-related out-of-work benefits, and actually instead to stay on universal credit whilst working. This will be the first time there's been an above-inflation increase to the standard allowance for universal credit. So it'll be the biggest increase since universal credit was created, which will mean a substantial increase by the end of this Parliament in the amount of money that universal credit pays out. The third thing that we're doing is we're scrapping the work capability assessments. The problem with work capability assessments is it's a binary assessment of whether you can or can't work. And actually, for a lot of people, they're stuck in the middle. There might be circumstances where they could work with a bit of extra support. So we want to make sure that we replace work capability assessments with that kind of human assessment that will help people get into work and stay in work and be successful. We're also going to introduce the right to try. So one of the big anxieties that people might have if they're out of work on a health-related benefit is that if they were to take the leap back into the job world, that they would then, if it didn't work out, lose all of the things that they fought for in terms of benefit support. And that is sometimes a reason for people not to venture back into the workplace. So we're going to introduce the right to try, which will reduce that risk, mean that people are prepared to put their foot in the water a bit more fully, and hopefully realise that work for a lot of people is really good for their mental health and can actually give them a really fulfilling time. Then there is more employer support that we're providing, particularly for employers to take on people with disabilities through things like supported internship schemes. We know that there's terrible figures for the number of disabled people who are able to get into work with the support of employers. So we want to do an awful lot more to make sure that everybody has the chance for work who can make it into that system. And then finally, we're going to focus PIP payments on only those who are most in need for health reasons. And that application will come in for new claimants soon, and then for those on existing PIP payments from November 2026 with a reassessment. So the principle behind all of this is to make sure that we get loads more people back into work. We've got 3 million people out of work. That's an international anomaly. It's a massive problem for our country, and it's going to make our welfare system go bust. So we want to get lots of people back into work. We know that that isn't just about people pulling themselves up by their bootstraps. There's a lot more to it than that. That's why we want to make sure that we put the investment into universal credit, so we support people to be searching for work. It's why we want to spend £1 billion extra on programmes that help match employers to people that have been out of work and give them the dignity of getting back into the workplace. And we know as well that we need a system of welfare support that will always guarantee that for those people, and there are people who can't work, that the system is there for them and that the money is in place for the long term to ensure that they're supported with the lives that they need to lead, and the families that support them as well. So that's a bit of the detail. We'll post more links as well on this post. Big changes, but this will get more people back into work, give them the hope and opportunity that they deserve with it, and make sure that we've got a welfare system that's there for people when they need it into the future.